In the vast waters of the Pacific Ocean, the International Pacific Halibut Commission has been tirelessly working for the past century to ensure the sustainable management of one of the most iconic and valuable fish species, the Pacific halibut. Join us as we celebrate the 100th year anniversary of the International Pacific Halibut Commission and explore its incredible accomplishments over the years. Established in 1924, the International Pacific Halibut Commission was born out of the need to protect the Pacific halibut stock from overfishing and ensure their long-term survival. Since then, the IPHC has been at the forefront of scientific research, conservation efforts, and international collaboration.
Our primary role is to gather information, primarily scientific in nature, but also from a policy support perspective, and provide that to the Commission. And it's the Commission itself, so that the Commission is from the contracting party countries who make those decisions for the sustainable management of the stock, but then also for the optimization of those resources to ensure the fisheries that target Pacific halibut are sustained and maintained and expanded.
To better understand the population dynamics of the Pacific halibut over a wide geographical area, a survey tool was developed. The Fishery Independent Setline Survey, or FIS, was initially introduced in the 1970s as a response to the need for reliable and accurate data on Pacific halibut populations. Lyle Pierce from Canada has been involved in the FIS Setline Survey for many years.
I'm a skipper and owner of the fishing vessel Bold Pursuit, longest standing research vessel for the IPHC of 26 years. We just spent 2 weeks out there doing the stock assessment surveys. We did a trip up to Yakutat, fished 6 days, took a day off in Yakutat to see the sights, and then we turned around, fished our way back down through the hurricane and the nice weather out there, and delivered 6 days into here.
The FIS requires IPHC Secretariat staff on board to monitor the activity and to collect biological samples.
We were out fishing in fair weather region for the Fishery Independent Setline Survey. We set one string of gear at every station on the map, and we hauled them all back and we sampled the halibut that we caught. What will be happening here is that in a few minutes we'll start taking fish up, hoisting it onto the dock, where the plant workers will start sorting the fish by weight. And in those weight categories, we'll then weigh out batches of those fish so that we get a total of all the fish in the 10 to 20 pound category, in the 20 to 40 pound category, 40 to 60, and 60.
IPHC Secretariat also collects fishery data during commercial landings.
My job is basically when our commercial fishermen come in, I collect the biological samples, so your genetics and your age or your otoliths, and the weights, the lengths, and then I communicate with all the captains that I see, and I get all of the logbook data, which goes into the big statistical analysis on the different catches across all the reg areas.
In charge of the annual Pacific halibut stock assessment is Ian Stewart.
Well, so our stock assessment has evolved with the scientific tools that have been available at the time. So we went from very simple deterministic equilibrium models that were used through the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even into the 1970s. And then in the 70s, fishery stock assessment in general had a lot of growth in terms of the methods that were available. And so we have, over the last 40 years, we've continuously updated the approaches that we have available to us to make these models more complex, more dynamic, responding to the new data sources that have become available, such as the survey coming online in the late 1990s has been an important source of index or trend information, and our increasing biological understanding of the complexity of Pacific halibut. So over time, we've been able to build more of this complexity into the models. And today we're using models that really can incorporate all the various kinds of data that we have available to us.
Indigenous representatives from Alaska, British Columbia, and Washington State participate in the IPHC's annual meetings and provide valuable input on issues related to halibut conservation and management. The involvement of Indigenous peoples in the IPHC and the management of the Pacific halibut fishery is an ongoing journey.
We and other tribes have worked tirelessly with IPHC commissioners and secretariat staff to develop a relationship based on mutual respect and dedication to this vital cultural and commercial resource. Today, We work together to monitor and closely manage a thriving and healthy commercial fisheries in our traditional waters. Together, we collect the single largest annual commercial fisheries data set in Area 2A. We have partnered with IPHC and other researchers on studies of traditional fishing methods, analysis of historical catch in the archaeological records, and current population dynamics. We look forward to continue to build this relationship over the next 100 years and working to ensure that the Pacific fisheries remain some of the most closely studied and highly valued in the world.
To achieve the objectives of the Commission to develop sustainable management practices that not only would ensure a healthy stock, but also allow stakeholders a reasonable harvest opportunity, the Commission adopted a management strategy evaluation approach to their decision-making process.
Management strategy evaluation has quite a long history at IPHC. In fact, one of the first real simulation studies to investigate management procedures was done by Southward at IPHC, and that's considered the first one done in fisheries. And that was in the late 1960s, about 50 so years ago. Then there's been many other evaluations done over that time, but really we've embarked on, or the IPHC has embarked on the current MSE process, which is a process of testing different management procedures to identify those that are robust to variability and uncertainty and also meet defined objectives. And we started that process in about 2012, 2013. And so a little over 10 years ago, and have been developing the framework for management strategy evaluation, involving stakeholders through the Management Strategy Advisory Board, working with commissioners to identify objectives and identifying those management procedures to test, and then determine which ones meet the objectives of the Commission.
Science has played a crucial role in the management of Pacific halibut at the Commission. It's provided the knowledge and tools necessary for evidence-based decision-making. Through scientific research, data collection, and collaborative efforts with stakeholders, the IPHC has implemented effective management strategies that have safeguarded this iconic species for future generations.
I think what we can say is that over the last 100 years, the techniques and the ways of approaching the science have radically changed and radically improved. But not surprisingly, the main biological questions remain the same as were identified about 100 years ago. We're still trying to understand basic biological processes such as growth with the historical changes in size and age. We're still trying to understand reproductive performance of female Pacific halibut. We're still trying to understand migration and distribution. Those are questions that were identified more than 100 years ago, and they're still pressing. But the difference is that now we have amazing tools with which to investigate all these processes. And just to give you an example, with the sequencing of the Pacific halibut genome, now we're entering a new realm of biological activities that have led to the identification of what's the blueprint of the Pacific halibut biology based on the genome. One of the outcomes that have already come out of the sequencing of the genome is the identification of the regions of the genome that are responsible for sex, for determining whether Pacific halibut are either males or females. And thanks to this effort, we're now using sex-specific genetic markers to sex the commercial landings. And since 2017, now we've had sex ratios from the commercial landings, which we never had before.
One of the biggest things I think that I've seen as an improvement is, from a scientific perspective, the ability to incorporate uncertainty into the information that we present. So, like some of the statistical theories that we use now was originally created back in the 1700s. So 200 years later, we're finally able to, with the advent of computers, to actually make it happen, because we're now able to do all of the massive amounts of computing that's necessary to actually implement these ideas that were first thought of like 250 years ago, which is pretty exciting. I think our next step is the ability to improving our ability to explain it to everyone so that they can actually use it. So when you make your decisions, you actually understand better in terms of what the uncertainty actually means and how to incorporate it into your decision making. So I think that's probably one of the next big things on biologists' lists of things that I think we need to do better in the future.
So if I was to sort of take a look back in comparison to other RFMOs, IPHC really is considered to be a gold standard in many of the activities that we undertake, and some of the ones that I've just mentioned in terms of fishery independent monitoring we do, the fishery dependent monitoring we do, but more specifically just in the level of stakeholder engagement at a commission level. I've been involved with quite a number of RFMOs globally now, and the IPHC is totally unique in that sense, that even though it has the two countries who are responsible for the overall management, if you attend one of our annual meetings, for example, you'll have the table of commissioners, but then you'll have 150 to 200 stakeholders. And it's really the stakeholders who have made the IPHC the success that it is today. The level of engagement from basic fisheries interaction to the Management Strategy Advisory Board, for example, is really unheard of to have that level of stakeholder engagement. It's impressive.
As we celebrate the 100th year anniversary of the International Pacific Halibut Commission, we honor the dedication, expertise, and the passion of the individuals who have contributed to its success. Together, we have achieved remarkable milestones in ensuring the sustainability of the Pacific halibut fishery and preserving the health of our oceans.